Well, folks, it finally happened. Pope Francis, the 266th Pope, the Bishop of Rome, the Vicar of Christ, and the only world leader to make both climate change and who am I to judge go viral, has officially checked into the heavenly Vatican timeshare. Born Jorge Mario Bergoglio in Buenos Aires in 1936, Pope Francis was a man of many contradictions. A Jesuit who rode the bus, a pontiff who washed the feet of prisoners, and a global leader who said God never tires of forgiving us, while your Catholic aunt still hasn't forgiven you for missing Christmas Mass in 2011. Let's start with the big F word, forgiveness. Pope Francis once said, God never tires of forgiving us. We are the ones who tire of seeking his mercy, which is comforting until you realize he was talking about people confessing to watching The Bachelor while fasting. Francis made mercy his thing. He didn't just talk about turning the other cheek. He practically started cheek-slapping master classes for angry bishops. He famously said, a little bit of mercy makes the world less cold and more just. Unless you were a corrupt cardinal, in which case justice came with the press release and a demotion to the Vatican gift shop. Francis also championed the poor, a pope so anti-wealth hoarding. Jeff Bezos reportedly started sweating holy water every time Francis opened his mouth. He said, we all have to think about how we can become a little poorer, which is bold considering most popes wear robes worth more than a used Prius. And while he didn't sell off Vatican treasures for cash, let's be real, the man probably thought gold ceilings were just aggressively tacky. And then there's Laudato Si, the encyclical that turned Catholicism into a surprisingly woke branch of Greenpeace. He called Earth an immense pile of filth. Bold move insulting God's creation while still praising the architect. That's like complimenting your landlord while calling your apartment a blessed cockroach cathedral. But Pope Frank wasn't just talking trash, he was preaching stewardship. We are not God, the earth was here before us. Which is why, unlike every politician in Florida, he believed climate change wasn't a hoax invented by liberals and angry sea turtles. Now let's talk LGBTQ+. In 2013, he asked, who am I to judge? And for a church that practically invented judgment, that's like McDonald's asking, who am I to serve fries? He wasn't exactly officiating gay weddings in St. Peter's Square, but he was light years ahead of his predecessors. He told parents to stand by their LGBTQ+ kids, which is refreshing for an institution that usually prefers standing by to mean standing silently in the shadows and issuing vague condemnations. And Pope Francis loved young people in the spiritual, not creepy way. He once said, educating is an act of love. And unlike most quotes about education, this one didn't end with a standardized test score. He also said universities should train social poets, which honestly sounds like a slam poetry night hosted by Mr. Rogers. But hey, if TikTok influencers can call themselves creators, why not let Catholic students become poets of society with hearts of gold and GPAs of meh? Francis was also a peace pope. In a world that breathes the air of conflict, he reminded us to breathe something different, like incense, or compost fumes from Laudato Si composting stations. And he even challenged global leaders to love their people, advice that went over about as well as a vegan dish at a Texas BBQ. He once said, I prefer a church which is bruised, hurting, and dirty because it has been out on the streets for best, which raises questions like, what exactly is a bruised church? Is it limping? Did it lose a theological street fight to an angry YouTuber? But that metaphor, the church as a field hospital, nailed it. Francis wanted the church to heal people, not just scold them. And if that meant getting a little dirty, he brought holy soap. His final encyclical, De Lexit Nos, was a love letter to Jesus's heart. And in a world where fake love comes from dating apps and campaign speeches, he reminded us Jesus remains concerned for us even when no one else is. That kind of spiritual intimacy is what made Francis different, a man who hugged the homeless, FaceTimed with prisoners, and still found time to dunk on capitalism with saintly swagger. Now, hold your incense as of this taping. News of Francis' death is still being verified. There are rumors, there are ex-posts, there are conspiracy theories involving aliens and gluten-free communion wafers. So, until we get official confirmation, and not from at Vatican Leaks 420, we honor his life as ongoing, his legacy as unchallenged, and his Twitter presence as blessedly minimal. To Pope Francis, the man who made mercy fashionable, climate change Catholic, and humility holy, may your words echo louder than the scandals ever did. And may your successor be half as decent and twice as memeable. Rest in peace.